All right, period, period, period. Peace, peace, y'all, and welcome to another episode of Divine Intervention Show, Season 2, Episode 5, which is titled Reciprocity Over Time. Wow, why humans misjudge fairness and how relationships collapse because of it. So, I want to introduce myself. My name is Empress, Coach Nicole of ReadNicole.com, Divine Intervention Show, and Podcast. With that being said, I am so happy to be here. It's been a while, guys, and we're going to jump right into this podcast. So let's get into it, period. Okay. Now, I want to define some things before we jump into it, just so everyone's clear on what I'm speaking on. Now, the foundational definition is that reciprocity in human relationships is not transactional symmetry in a single interaction. It is balanced, energetic exchanges across time. Okay? Most humans unconsciously evaluate fairness moment to moment. Who texted last? Who apologized first? Who paid? Who initiated? Who gave more emotional labor this week? Yet the nervous system does not fully, it does not track fairness in snapshots. It tracks patterns over time. Reciprocity is not about equal effort at all times. It is inherently 100% about whether, you know, across a meaningful time horizon, the relational system remains metabolically sustainable for both parties or mutual parties that's involved. When reciprocity is misjudged, either as too little or too much, relationships destabilize. The collapse rarely begins with betrayal, it begins with a perceived imbalance. And remember how I spoke on perceived imbalance in our first episode and how perception is 9 tenths of the law. Yet, when you are under the umbrella of perceived imbalance, that means that you are not asking for clarity. You are assuming intent. Okay? Yet some people they act and after you mention what they've done, they say, "Oh, you don't know my intent. It wasn't to hurt you. It wasn't to make you feel left out. It wasn't to discard you after you mention something." So this is something that has to be handled with care. Okay? It really has to be handled with care because um the human species uh really evolved into a cooperative like social groups. And reciprocity is not a moral preference. It is a survival mechanism embedded in the brain. And this can go back to where before money was ever created, there always was an exchange like, "Oh, I have this, so you're going to give me that." And this some people feel like that's reciprocity. And this conversation is literally breaking down what reciprocity is and why it's not just that, right? Because just because you have something I need doesn't mean I may have something that you need or want. And it doesn't mean that you still can't give it to me if it's within your capacity to do so, right? Because that matters as well. Capacity and things of that nature also come into play when you're thinking or you're speaking of these things and when you're thinking on reciprocity, excuse me. So it's all based on what? Reciprocity, a reward system. Because when reciprocity is present, the brain's like dopaminergic reward is like a circuit go off. It's like circuitry activates and it's just going off and it's like and mutual exchange does what? It stimulates the ventrum stratum, okay? Reinforcing what? Trust and cooperation. Oxytocin associated with bonding and social safety increases when effort is what? When effort is reciprocated. Like when someone's not reciprocating with me, I don't want to bond with them. I don't want to associate with them. I don't want to give them any of my energy. I don't want to be bothered with them. I feel like I'm taken advantage of. I feel violated. I feel disrespected. I feel thrown to the side. So it's a major thing because when reciprocity is absent, right? The anterior cingulate cortex that's involved in social pain, it activates and it feels like social rejection because or unfairness registers, right? Neurologically, and is similar to physical pain, right? The brain does not treat relational imbalance as abstracts. It treats it as a threat. And someone may feel, oh, well, you're just too needy. No, maybe you just don't know how to give. Maybe you're just not generous. Maybe you're just selfish and slightly narcissistic because I feel pain, right? And you are inducing pain within me because you are not reciprocating. And one thing effort is not, it's not effortless. You know what I'm saying? So this is why repeated one-side effort produces what? Exhaustion and resentment. Okay? Because the nervous system interprets it as sustained imbalance as potential exploitation. You start to feel taken advantage of. They took advantage of me. I gave and I gave and I gave and they gave nothing back. I feel taken advantage of. And the most toxic thing a person can say is, I didn't ask you to do that, right? But they wasn't saying it when they were siphoning your energy. They wasn't saying it when they were, having conversation with you, when you were making them feel good about themselves, when you were doing things for them, even if it was immaterial things. They didn't say it then. But the moment that you bring forth that, hey, you're not reciprocating and I feel pain, they, they respond back in an authoritative type of way. Unfortunately, for the most part. Now, every relationship draws on regulatory resources because when one person consistently expends more emotional or logistical or psychological labor without restoration, listen, I'm trying to tell you, their allostatic load increases. Chronic imbalance elevates cortisol, narrows tolerance, and reduces empathy capacity. It doesn't matter how much you love someone. Listen, it doesn't matter how much you love someone. Once you make someone feel isolated and taken advantage of and disrespected, it's like, I'm gonna hold all that love to me. I'm not gonna give you no more. You're not going to get any more because apparently you have no idea. You know how to take, but you don't know how to give. And that's not okay, right? Because over time, what? Over time, this leads to emotional numbing or abrupt withdrawal. I'm a lever. I've been saying this since day one of this podcast. I'm a lever, right? And it's not like I don't say it with pride. I say it with self sufficiency. I say it with, it may be a little bit of pride, guys. It may be a tiny bit of pride and a tiny bit of ego, but I say it with, I'm going to protect me before I fucking let someone else destroy me. Point blank, period. And that's just what it is. That's just what it is because over time, this leads to emotional numbing and abrupt withdrawal, right? And the individuals involved may say, I just don't feel the same anymore. Often, what that means is what? My nervous system is depleted. Like, you fucking drained me. You drained me because I gave and gave and gave, and you took from my cup and you said, and you were healthy, and you took my energy back to every Tom, Dick, and Sherry. And you didn't even think to pour anything for me while I was starving. And once I know my nervous system is depleted, if I start getting the weeps, like if I start crying about little things and I start feeling like nervous and I start feeling like, my intuition is telling me things, like, you know what, this person can't be trusted. This person is a liar. This person is taking advantage of me, and I will abruptly leave with no explanation. And I don't like that because I feel like, as a person who pours into my relationships and takes them very seriously, I don't have relationships with everyone. I can associate, I can be cordial, I can be communable, right? But I'm not building intimate relationships with everyone, right? I can be friends with anyone, but I'm not building intimate connections with everyone. And when it comes to my intimate relationships, if I feel I'm always giving and you're taking advantage of me, I'm out. I'm not going to stay to see how this turns out. I'm not going to stay and that's me loving myself. And it has everything to do with, whoa, I don't like the way I feel right now in this situation. And sometimes it's good to just pull back and reevaluate. And maybe you can go back to a situation or a friendship or a connection and have a conversation and fix everything. But most of the time, it's like by the time they want to come back and fix shit, you already over it. You already don't feel the same for them anymore. You already think they're a lie. You had so much time to think on it and sit in your resentment and sit in your feelings and have no apology, have no amendments, and you had so much time to build up so much anger and resentment towards them. That by the time they come back in, it's like, it's you. What are you gonna do? Just leave me again? What are you gonna do? Not love me on a love on me again? What are you here to do? Waste my time again? Right? And this is what resentment does, right? Because from a psychological lens, right, is like the illusion of immediate fairness, right? Psychologically, humans struggle with delayed reciprocity because of cognitive bias. Again, psychologically, humans struggle with delayed reciprocity because of cognitive bias. Period. Okay? I had to let that one sit there for a second, right? Because humans are what? Humans are prone to recency bias, overweight in recent efforts. Well, I did call you. Well, I did reach out. Availability bias, remembering our own contributions more visibly. Well, I did all this stuff for you and you didn't do nothing for me. And I can admit to being like that because I feel like it's not about, and it can come off as immature. It can definitely come off as immature availability bias and recency bias, right? But I want people to remember that you're not going to sit in my face and play. You're not going to sit in anyone's face and play and notice you're doing nothing. You're not even giving breadcrumbs. You're not even giving. A bird cannot even fill its belly off of the crumbs that you give. A bird would still be hungry. A bird would starve to death off of the crumbs you give, right? So you're not going to sit here and play like I haven't been providing full energetic courses, meals of energy and supply and love and fulfillment and joy for the free 99. And the little in the moment you listen, baby, because it's coming across me, ancestors. Thank you. Holy Spirit, thank you. It's coming across me now. The moment you have to ask somebody for the bare minimum, it's over. The moment you had to ask somebody to give you the bare minimum, it's over. Because that person doesn't understand integrity. If that person doesn't understand mutual respect and mutual honor and things of that nature, they are not worth the bother. And it doesn't matter how much you love them. Because I've had to walk away from someone while being in love with them. Okay? It doesn't matter. The love doesn't go away. It doesn't leave when you walk away. But guess what? You still have your integrity. You're not being mistreated anymore. You're not being left for dead anymore. You're not in a situation where someone is watching you struggle and never offering to help you. Okay? So I understand the availability bias and recency bias. You know, that definitely has a big role in delayed reciprocity, right? Because and it comes off it is cognitive bias. All of it is, but it's a real thing though. And we use it as humans because we're humans. We use those things. It's not to like measure, oh, what you doing for me, what you doing for me. No, but as sometimes you just gotta say, like, listen, I've been doing all this. I've been putting all this in. When are you gonna step up? When are you gonna see me how I see you? Because if you are never gonna see me how I see you, you can go. You're not doing me no favors. You're not doing me any favors by being in my life and not being an active person, by not being a person who sees me as someone valuable of your time, energy, and space. You're not doing me no favors by siphoning my energy, right? And these are the things you can say to people, or you don't have to say nothing at all, and you can just abruptly withdraw. Because even though these things are the reasons why relationships collapse, because cognitive bias, these cognitive biases allow us to measure, right? When we start to feel pain. So I'm coming at it from a point of pain, right? Of course, so we're going to come at it from the other side, of course, because fundamental attribution error, right? So that's what it is. It's a fundamental attribution error. Because what? We're interpreting others' reduced effort as character flaws rather than context. And this is what they say, oh, so now I'm a bad person because I wouldn't give you what you want. That's what people love. They love to gaslight you. They love to gaslight you after they got everything they needed from you. After they get everything they needed from you, all your energy, and they siphoned you and it made you tired and exhausted, you put your dreams on hold for them. right? All that for them. You do all that for them. And they say, "Oh, well, you're just judging me. You're saying I'm not a, you saying I'm a piece of shit because I treated you like that when I had stuff going on." Okay, so that's why this is what communication is for. It's easily to communicate. I got so much stuff going on. I want to see other people. I want to fuck other people. I want to be with other people. I don't want to be with you. It's so easy to communicate than to leave someone feeling taken advantage of. Than to leave someone feeling like they don't matter. Than to leave someone feeling like they weren't enough. No matter how much you know that you're enough, when you're in an intimate partner connection, someone's lack of reciprocity, because we're speaking on a bare minimum right now, even though fundamental attribution errors is when we literally see and interpret, receive, reduce effort as a character flaw. I 100% see it as a character flaw. I see it as someone who lacks integrity, because you have the audacity to be in a connection where someone is giving to you, but you refuse to give to them. And your only answer is, that's all I can give. That was my capacity. So why be involved then? Because you have other areas of your life where you're pouring into people. You have other situations in your life where you're giving. But the most intimate situation in your life, you're using it like it's a damn a plaything or something like that, right? Listen. So as a result, people often believe that they're giving more than they're receiving, even when long-term patterns are relatively balanced. I'm just saying from my experience, I know how it feels to give more. I know how it feels to give more. And as a person who's a giver, I'm no longer feeling like I want to be a giver. And that's like a big transformation for me, because I'm going to always be a giver. But now I use my discernment so much that it's like, you really, really got to be something special, something extraordinary to get close to me, because I refuse to ever dim my light for anyone else. I refuse to ever give the most intimate parts of myself to anyone else who just doesn't deserve it. And if it takes me years of getting to know someone before I ever get them an intimate part of me or share my story or anything like that, I will. I'm prepared to do that. I am not going to sit back and allow anyone's undiagnosed son or daughter to come in my existence and play games with me and play games with my energy. Now, shoot. Because listen, anxiously attached individuals tend to hypertrack reciprocity. I'm listen. I'm not gonna tell you my personality type, but it's the anxious one. Okay, so they monitor signs of investment constantly. Small lapses feel catastrophic. They feel catastrophic to me. Like I said, for me, if I ever get to the point of crying about everything, I'm like, I'm done. Fucking done. I'm done. Like, I know my capacity, I know my limits. Let me walk away, because apparently that's what you want. You don't want me here, so I'm gonna do you a favor, and I'm gonna go, because you didn't treat me like you wanted me here. I came to come to your house. Your castle was nice and clean and immaculate, and it was no covers. It was just cold, just coldness. No warm food, no gifts, no love, no nothing. And when you would come visit every couple months or couple years, you would drop off little tidbits of love. I'm good. I'm Gucci, right? And it's not about insecurity or anything. It's because it triggers the abandonment. It triggers the abandonment fears. Excuse me. Now, speaking for myself, I don't necessarily feel like I have abandonment fears. I'm a person who overstands, understands, and understands pattern recognition. I get it. I pay attention, and I'm not a person who stretches myself thin. I don't have multiple people I'm an intimate partner relationship with. So if it's just one person, then I know this person by now. So I know the pattern. So if you start doing something, I'm like, you know what? Get somebody else to do it, because I've been through this shit too much, and I'm not doing it anymore. It's no more conversations needed to be had. I had the conversations. You know what I need. You know what I need to feel secure in this place. You know what I need to feel safe. I'm doing what I need to do to make you feel safe, and you refuse to make me feel safe. And now I feel dysregulated, and everything else in my life is being affected. And I cannot sit by and watch me destroy my life over someone who doesn't give a fuck about me. Right now, let's get into the avoidance. Avoidantly attached individuals may undertrack reciprocity. They value autonomy, right? And they may perceive reasonable bids for reciprocity as pressure. They feel like, oh, you're trying to pressure me. You're trying to pressure me into calling you. You're trying to pressure me into texting you. Well, don't text me or call me. Go be by yourself. Go be by yourself and go hurt somebody else, because nobody in this camp is desperate to be with you. Like my spiritual family, we're not desperate to be with anybody. We are not pressuring anyone to be with us. We don't care. And it's not because we don't love, because when we love wholly. We don't love hard. We love softly. We love intimately. We love very deeply, right? We love very securely, right? And is no ifs, ands, or buts about our love, because we leave no room for ambiguity, right? So when it comes to avoidant types, my whole thing is when you come across an avoidant type, just avoid them. When you realize that whatever you want to talk about something serious, they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to die, just leave them alone, because it's not worth it. It's not worth your anxiety. It's not worth your hair. It's not worth your skin, your nails. It's not worth the stress that you need in your life. They want to be an avoidant. Let them be an avoidant. Some people want to struggle just to have somebody. They want to struggle. They want to be somebody's therapist and all that other stuff. That leave the avoidance for those people. Just being honest, because I'm so tired of people justifying egregious behavior and just labeling it with something, right? Because all of our nervous systems interpret things differently, right? So what one nervous system interprets as neglect, another interprets as normal rhythm. Like if they feel like, oh well, maybe all the women are males in my existence, I don't have to call them, I don't have to text them, I don't have to check in with them. So now that you have these standards, you're just too demanding. You're just too controlling. You're just wanting too much. You're wanting what I can't give to you. And this shit is regular stuff. It's just bare minimum things. Right. But they're so used to people that are desperate and codependent. Like, oh no, whatever you give me, I'll just take it just to have you in my life. That's not what we're doing here. We're not doing toxic relationships, right? Or someone who feels like I always had someone who's generous and loving on me, and like I lower my standards to be with you, and you don't do half the things they do. So I can understand from many different perspectives, not just these two, but many different perspectives that people may have, because all of our nervous systems function different according to our life and different things that matter. Excuse me. So just keep that in mind, right? Reciprocity breaks down often, right? It often begins not with imbalance, but with mismatched expectations about how balance should look. And people never have the conversation about what balance in a relationship looks like. They just feel like, some people just like, oh, I'm a man. You should submit. You should listen to me. Fuck you. How about that? Like, because what are you doing for me? Right? Oh, I'm a woman and you should do this. Okay, F you too. Because what are you doing for me? That's just a lot of people's mindset these days. And if we stop in the middle and we meet and say, you know what makes you feel safe? And how can I add to that as we build this connection? Then you're starting a foundation that can be immovable, unshakable, and unbreakable, right? But too many times people feel like their vagina, their money, their status, and for most people that works, because all people care about is greed, lust, the seven deadly sins. That's all they care about. Being seen, feeling like they succeed in life by having a certain kind of partner. Oh, that's the only thing that matters to them. Getting their family's approval, getting society's approval. They don't have their own mind, right? So these things matter to them. So when you stop and when you stop and reflect and you have a conversation with your intimate partner about what makes you feel safe and what makes them feel safe, this is when we can bridge the gap of reciprocity, right? Because there's a quote by Rumi. It's called, and it goes by this: those who expect nothing are seldom to disappointments. Now, that's true. That's one of the quotes I live by. I expect nothing. I only, people are who they are, and they're just always going to be who they are. So the results of that is just going to be what they are, because people are who they are. That's just what I believe, right? And it's not excusing anyone. It's not saying anything like that, because we can get into that on another podcast. But that's some deep stuff, because it goes really down the rabbit hole. Some people just can't be nothing but what they are. And if that's just is what it is, right? So when it comes to reciprocity and mismatched expectations, someone may feel like, I want my whole life being praised and chased as a man or a woman, what have you, and you are desiring these things to feel safe. I never had to give those things before. Or maybe they may feel like, oh, well, the last time I did this for someone, they hurt me, they betrayed me. But they don't realize that maybe the other person feels betrayed by them not giving those things. To me, human decency is the bare minimum of any relationship. I don't care what they say. Human decency, respect, and responsibility, that's the bare minimum of any relationship, right? Communication is the bare minimum. If these things do not exist, you don't have a relationship. Somebody's playing with you is manipulation. That's what it is. It's not a relationship. It's not a mutual respect. They don't respect you. They don't even respect themselves, because how could you treat someone like that and then claim that you're a man or a woman? You don't even respect yourself. You know what I'm saying? So the mismatch expectation, and just keep that in mind on how you're going to deal with it, because human relationships unfold in seasons, right? There are many periods where one person carries more weight, right? It could be through an illness, career transition, grief, parenting, financial strain, mental health struggles. We're not talking about sticking with your partner. Okay, so what am I trying to say? We're speaking on sticking with your partner when times get tough. We're not saying being a dumbass and staying with your partner when they cheat on you 50,000 times and give you an STD and saying they really love you deep down inside. That's not what we're speaking on. We're speaking on the things that we just spoke on. We're speaking on things that naturally happen in relationships, right? Those things. We're not speaking on you not loving yourself and you hating yourself and just sticking in there. No, we don't speak on those type of things, okay? So if you're triggered, then you probably should go drink some water, sit down and take a deep breath, because yes, I said it, but did you die? Right? So in sustainable relationships, temporary imbalance is metabolized because the system trusts that imbalances will re-emerge, right? It's a beautiful thing to have harmony within a relationship, but it's also a practical thing and a logical thing to understand that there will be discord. There will be imbalance. That doesn't make it a bad relationship. That doesn't make it right relationship or a wrong relationship. It makes it a ebb and flow. It makes it a divine partnership. It makes it something that's going to tip the scales up and down, but you're still going to stand on that foundation that you built, right? But when imbalance becomes chronic, without what? Acknowledgement, without renegotiation or visible effort to rebalance, trust erodes. Remember back when I first started speaking earlier, and I said that when I went through a situation similar to not getting reciprocity, I felt like I couldn't trust them. I felt like my intuition had the hairs on my neck standing up. Always felt sick to my stomach. I always felt lightheaded. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? It's something else going on behind my back, and I would pray, I would meditate, and I would get downloads. And it's like, oh, this is what's going on behind my back. Okay. And I would keep trying to renegotiate, and I kept meeting a brick wall, and I would acknowledge myself, and I would just, open up the door, and it just never was a door. It was never a visible effort to rebalance. It was like this like surface level shit that never moved forward. It's like the person purposely didn't move forward, didn't add effort, didn't care about me enough to respect me enough to tell me what it was. So the key variable is not who did more this month. It's not that, right? And like I said, even though I believe in these things, even though I'm a person who measured those things, I feel like I only measured them once I felt the pain. Once I start feeling the pain, I start measuring. Because before I didn't see it that way. I just seen it as love. It was just me showing my love. This is how I show up in relationships. And then I started to feel drained. I started feeling depleted. I started getting downloads. I started seeing messages. I started seeing stuff that I didn't even know what it was. I had to ask questions. And I'm like, you know what? I can't do this. Because it's like I have no safe place to land here. And I made it real comfortable and safe for the other person, but they haven't made it that way for me. And I refuse to be regulated for anyone. Undiagnosed son and undiagnosed daughter. I just refuse to be in that vicinity of allowing my space to be interrupted with people who don't care about me. And I use myself as an example because I don't like telling people what they would, should, and could do. If that makes any sense. But the key variable, right? And the question you can ask yourself when you're in your relationship is, does the system feel dynamic? and responsive, or static and what? And what? Extractive, right? So if effort never rotates, resentment, what? Resentment is going to accumulate. Point blank, period. Resentment is going to accumulate. Resentment is not a good feeling. It lays in your chest, it lays in your heart. And I don't know. I don't know what hate feels like, but maybe that's what hate feels like. I don't know. I don't think I ever hated someone. I'm not sure. That's not an energy that I focus or harper on. And I just try to stay away from them low energy because I feel like they can engulf you and stuff like that. And I'm not sure, but I know resentment is not a good feeling. I do know that. I know it vibrates very low. And energetically, reciprocity functions like circulation. If energy flows in one direction without return, stagnation develops, if that makes any sense. So you're just sending energy. And that person is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like Miss Pac-Man, just keep on eating. Right? So spiritual frameworks often misinterpret unconditional love as unlimited giving. Hello? Spiritual framework, excuse me, guys. Spiritual frameworks often misinterpret unconditional love as unlimited giving, right? Yet unlimited giving without regeneration creates depletion, not enlightenment. Not enlightenment. This is why you have to know when to stop. And people think, oh, you don't love me because you love me. No, it's not that I don't love you. I love me more. You're always supposed to love yourself more. Because you got to love yourself enough to know when to stop. You have to love yourself and know enough to know when to stop. You have to love yourself enough to know when to stop. And it's not to stop loving, it's to stop giving. You can still love someone and not give them nothing. You can love them from a distance. You can pray for them still. You can wish them well. But there's no way that you're going to stay in a relationship and continue to build up a house with no beams. All you have is a foundation. You don't have no beams for support. You don't have no piping, no electricity. That house going to fall down right on top of you. So you did all this energy to build up the foundation. And now when the rain, sleet, snow, and hell, you don't have nothing to protect you because you're not safe. You're not safe. But them, they went and dug a hole up under the foundation. And it's like, you know what? She made me safe. He made me safe here. So I'm safe. So they're not worried about it like you are. Right? So true reciprocity respects rhythm. It allows for asymmetry during hardships, but expects restorations, right? When capacity returns. Listen, spiritually, resentment is often an early warning sign that reciprocity is distorted. Yes, baby. I knew the moment when I had to pray and pray for days, like, yo, what is this in my heart? What is this in my heart? I don't like it. I don't like how I'm feeling. I don't like how I'm feeling towards the person I love. You know, what is this feeling? And I was like, what is this feeling? I think that's how it go. Loathing, pure unadulterated loathing. Okay, guys. But yes, it was just like, what is this feeling and why is it here? Because it's one part of you like, no, I love them. That's whatever. And it's another part of you like, yeah, okay, go fall off a building for all I care. And I hate to be so dramatic, but well, I don't hate anything, but I don't like to be so dramatic, saying those things. But resentment is just a feeling that it's not a good feeling. And it's not because you're unloving. It's because the exchange, it lacks sustainability. It was nothing to sustain you. It was just nothing to sustain you. Right? And I'm not justifying, I'm not demonizing. I'm just speaking on both sides of the coin and what it is. And I'm trying, I am teaching through my experience. So I hope that you guys are listening and not just trying to take the information and run with something and actually listen to the signs of feeling these things, because there's always warning signs. There's always time to stop and recalibrate and do all these things where your foundation can still be stabilized. The foundation cracks when The energy comes back around, right? And it's not sustained. It's not sustained, right? It's just any sustained one-sided load will degrade the carrying component. If one part of a system consistently absorbs more stress than the other, structural failure becomes predictable. It's just like the house I just described, right? And it's like one emotional processor, one initiator, one planner, one apologizer, one stabilizer. Eventually the node weakens. And it doesn't mean you're a weak person, but without distribution, collapse is not emotional, it's mechanical. It really is mechanical, unfortunately. It is. And I don't know if people are used to seeing others just carry the load and they don't have to do anything and they're still well taken care of, they're still well received. And that's fine and dandy, but we're grown-ups and we're talking about mutual, healthy, sustainable relationships here. Okay? So, excuse me. Different cultures encode reciprocity different. Some prioritize immediate mutual exchange, others value long term loyalty regardless of short term imbalance. That's crazy. Gender norms, family structures, and socioeconomic pressures also shape expectations. In many contexts, emotional labor is expected from specific identities without reciprocal recognition. Thus, what? Thus, perceived imbalance is often influenced by social conditioning, not just behavior. Okay? Understanding reciprocity requires examining both by a lot. Oh, God. It requires examining both biology and culture. Because it just does. It's not. I've learned so much. I've learned so much. I learned even more than what I thought I would learn from someone I didn't expect to have to teach me the lesson. I've learned that what I desired was completely healthy. And I wasn't demanding and I wasn't expecting and I wasn't asking for too much. They just didn't have it to give to me. And even no matter what I feel towards anyone or people that this happened with, I'm alive. I'm doing well. I'm kicking. The universe has provided, right? And even though there may be pain or hurt behind it, nothing, nothing, nothing can go for the price of the peace that I have, right? Because when reciprocity collapses, it collapses in 4 stages: silent imbalance, internal resentment, misattribution of intent, and relational disengagement. Stage 1, of course, is invisible. No confrontation, just quiet tracking. Stage 2 creates a subtle tone shift. And stage 3 reframes the other person as selfish and uncaring. Stage 4 ends a connection. And most relationships don't end because of betrayal. They end because imbalances was never named early enough. And this is why I'm heavy on saying most. But as for myself, I'm a person who names things early. I spot things early. I'm a tracker because I am a person who is 100% into pattern recognition. So I'm a tracker, right? And I feel like a lot of people, they miss you when you're gone, but they didn't value you when they had you, right? Because reciprocity is not about equal effort today. It's about balanced exchange over time. Sustainable human relationships require honest acknowledgement of shifting capacity, clear renegotiation during times of imbalance, redistribution of the load when possible, willingness to track patterns instead of moments, right? Because everyone's not going to be available to you to give to you whenever you desire, right? So if you just realize this is just a pattern with someone, this is when it's like, you know what, this may not be for me. Repair when imbalance is recognized. And that's true. But like I said, just because a relationship ends, it doesn't mean it's over forever. Because every relationship doesn't end on bad terms. And some people grow up and they figure out what they did wrong and they want to change. And that's rare. But I definitely don't recommend you jumping back into anything that made you uncomfortable. Just ask yourself, why did it make me uncomfortable? If you're going back to someone who didn't reciprocate, ask yourself, what inside of you needs to feel that again? What makes you think they're going to reciprocate now? Are they showing you with actions that they're reciprocating, or are they just love bombing you? You have to ask yourself all these questions before you get involved in situations that you already went through, because at the end of the day, you are going to be the one who suffers, right? So you can ask yourself, does this relationship feel metabolically sustainable for both of us across time? If the answer becomes consistently no, collapse will follow. Period. Um, with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this podcast. And this has been episode 5 of Divine Intervention Season 2. My name is Empress Coach Nicole, ringnicole.com, Divine Intervention Show, Ethereal Wellness, and Sankofa's Naturals, and the Love Experience. So with that being said, you can check me out at any of those places. I am live on Spotify, anywhere to streaming, you can find me. With that being said, y'all, I really hope y'all enjoyed this, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace, peace, take care, and stay blessed, stay woke, and stay blessed.
That pussy gonna go for at least another 10 years.